Alright, well, good morning, guys. Finally got a little bit of time to come back and work on the boat right here. I'm sorry for my dog barking in the background. He's needy. So, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to take the piece of the transom that we cut off and we're going to lay it down here like a template. This is the piece right here. This is the piece that we have off the transom. And for the most part, we have the general shape. We're obviously going to have to, assume this bottom line, but we're just going to want to set it up on this piece of wood to where we can trace it out, but yet retain as much of the shape as possible. So I'm going to probably take this top edge right here and just butt it up flat with this top edge of the piece of plywood, because then it's one less line that I have to physically cut, and I know it's going to be straight. And then I can go ahead with my marker and trace out the rest of this shape. And like I said, when we get down here, I'm going to have to assume a straight line, but I can worry about that here in a second. So right now I'm just going to go ahead, get this all traced out, and get this line down here put on, and we'll go from there. Okay, so what I just went ahead and did was I went over to the boat, and you can see where the transom sat on there, and I measured from the very top edge coming straight down, and I got 15 inches. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do on this piece of plywood. I'm going to measure from the top edge coming down to get 15 inches, and that's where we're going to go ahead and make our straight line for the bottom piece, and then we can go ahead and finish out these side ones right here. So as of right now, we don't need this template anymore. We're actually not going to use it anymore. Once we cut out this first sheet, that's what we're going to use to go ahead and make our second one. So like I said, from that top edge coming down, we want 15 inches. So another good thing of putting that top edge on this top plane is now that's all the top edge. So you can use that and you can move down the piece of plywood and you can keep finding your top edge, if that makes sense. I'm going to do marks probably every 3 or so inches, just so I can, or not 3, maybe 5 or 6 inches, just so I can maintain like a good consistency. Alright, so this next part is not ideal. I cannot find my big 48-inch straight edge, so we're actually just going to use the edge on the pink foam. As long as you're comfortable with it, go ahead and do whatever you guys want to do. This is what I'm going to use. As long as you get it set pretty well, you shouldn't have any issues. It looks like everything's lining up pretty well, so and it looks like we have some lines to finish off, but I'm not too worried about that because it's about a 1/4 inch on each side that we can just eyeball with the circular saw. So this piece is all ready to cut out. I'm gonna go get the circular saw and everything, and I'll be right back. Circular saw, cut it out. Alright. So there we go, we have our first board. So now I'm going to go ahead, we're going to go and test fit this, just make sure it fits up pretty well, and go from there. That looks pretty good. Got some rivets that are still stuck in there that I need to take care of, but fits up nice. It sits up on that shelf real nice. I think this will work for us. So now we're just going to go ahead, copy this exact thing, cut it out, and then we'll get on to joining them together and painting them. Alright, so here we have board one. Looks good. Here we have board two. Lay them up on top of each other. Just gotta flip it. That's looking pretty good to me. It's off by just, a little bit around the edges, like maybe a 1/16 of an inch or so, but I'm fine with that, you know. It looks good. We have our, I call it a dirty side right here, where you can see all the grain, knots and everything, and then what'll be the front side of the boat that everyone sees is the nice clean side. So this should do really, really good for us. And now we just got to get it painted, and then we got to attach them together. So I'm gonna go grab all my paint supplies real quick, and we can start getting this stuff painted. If you guys have watched my trailer series on this build, you guys have seen this paint before. It's just a black oil-based enamel, and the key to it is the oil-based part. So we are gonna paint these pieces of wood until we cannot paint them no more, pretty much. We want this lumber to soak up, or this plywood, to soak up as much paint as possible on both sides, and that'll give it more of a, I don't want to say it's 100% waterproof, but it helps the water to not stay in it and soak into it and everything. So the oil-based part is extremely important. You can get this stuff at your local hardware store for like, I think it's like $35 a gallon. So, and I've used this on 2 boats now, and I've redone 2 trailers. So this is definitely, you know, worth the money right here. So we're just gonna want to shake it all up real nice and good. Since it is oil-based, it settles really heavily, but you want to make sure you shake it up really, really well. So, all right, and then for painting these 2 pieces of wood, I just have a little 3-inch roller, nap roller. Doesn't matter really what you use. This is just what I found, so it'll work. But we're just gonna go ahead and start painting these up. I'm literally gonna dip the roller in there because I don't care how much is on here. We're gonna end up putting a lot on these boards anyways, so we're just gonna roll her on. One important thing to do is also get the edges extremely well. That's where a lot of water tends to come in on boats. So, I mean, right there, I was able to do what, a 1 by 1 foot section. This stuff's gonna soak in here really, really heavily. So make sure to take your time, get it everywhere that you need to get it, and then go over it another 4 times. So it's stuff works really well. It's a little bit cheaper, but if you're doing it right, you guys won't have problems, and you won't have to redo your transom in another 2 years. So alright, we have coat number 1 done on the one side of it. I'm probably going to go ahead and do 4 coats per side. I want this to be pretty thick. I want it to soak up all into the lumber, and I can already tell like quite a bit of this first board's already soaked up into here, so it's a good thing. But I'm just going to do it over time, slowly. So I'm going to cut to the next portion of this video when these are all painted and all done, and then we're going to attach them together, and then we're going to start the fit up on the transom. So I'll see you guys then. While we're literally waiting for paint to dry, I figured the next best thing that we could do is go ahead and get our pink foam cut for the bottom of the boat. So as you guys can see right down here, we have the ribs, and all what we're doing, we're taking a measuring tape and we're measuring from the top of each ridge to see how much we need, and then we're just cutting it out of this 4x8 sheet of foam. It's 48-inch boat. It should just slip right in there. Alright, so here's what the foam looks like all laid down in the bottom of the boat. I figured out with this boat, I have to cut it a little bit shorter. You see the rib right here? That sticks up quite a bit, and the rivets are a lot taller on the other boats that I've done. So like right here, if you can tell, this one's cut to the top of the ridge, and it's sticking up a 1/2 inch. Like this one's pretty close. Like it's sticking up a little bit, but I think leaving this gap is gonna work a lot better for us. So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna trim those 3 to get them to fit better. But overall, this is what, you know, underneath the floor is gonna look like. So we went ahead, put foam back under all of it, and yeah, so tomorrow I'm gonna come, and I have that piece of aluminum. Ooh, I don't know if you guys can see that right there. and we got to do some work to get that to fit onto here, but that's going to be the goal for tomorrow morning. So I'll be back tomorrow with you guys, and hopefully we can get that floor laid down. Alright guys, welcome back to like the third or fourth day into this. This video is honestly taking me quite a while, and I might have to do like a part 2 video to this just to kind of, you know, trim it down a little bit, because I don't have the best upload speeds and everything. But regardless of that, in front of us you guys can see a 1/8 inch sheet of aluminum, and it's a little bowed, a little bent, but that's alright. I was actually able to pick this up off a guy on Facebook for relatively cheap. It's the side of an old like walk-in freezer, so it should work perfect for us. The only thing is I'm gonna have to take the angle grinder and grind off all this wood that's glued down to the bottom of this. So, and then there's a lip on each side that I'm gonna have to go ahead and trim off, but like I said, that's the easy stuff. So right now I'm just gonna go ahead and work on that. I'm still putting paint on the back of our transom behind me, or behind you guys technically. I was able to put 3-4 coats on yesterday on the one side, so I flipped it over today and I'm doing 3 to 4 coats on the other side. So that being said, I'm just gonna get to cleaning up this aluminum sheet here, and hopefully we can get it cut to size today and maybe laid down in the bottom of the boat. Okay, so I just finished getting all the wood that was stuck to the bottom of this sheet off, and I went ahead and I measured from the inside of the rib to the inside of the rib, and it's about 46 inches on the boat, and this panel is about 46 inches wide. So when I go to cut off these ridge, or essentially the ridges on either side, I don't want to be cutting down. I want to be cutting like at a flat angle to try and, you know, give me as much, you know, sheet as possible. So for that, I'm probably going to go ahead and put on a cutting wheel for the angle grinder and just run it, you know, right across the bottom of the edge. If I wasn't going to do that, another great option would be a sawzall, but I think the cutting edge or the cutting wheel is probably going to be the best tool for the job on this one. I might try the sawzall and just see if I can, you know, get it to work real quick, because if that works, it's probably going to be overall the fastest. But that's the game plan right now, is to cut these tabs off either side and see where we can go from there. So okay, boy was I wrong. The sawzall is the 100% tool for the job there. Wow, that actually worked extremely well for that. So if you guys can see that, that's what we cut off right there. It's literally just a 1/2 inch aluminum strip that they curled around the edges to wrap it around the cooler edges. So I'm gonna go ahead, cut off the other side real quick, and then we might just have to come back with a flap disc in the grinder just to clean up the edge a little bit so it's not super sharp. But other than that, like, it is completely flat down to the panel. The sawzall was definitely the move for that. So don't know if you guys could tell how fast that was, but it was pretty darn quick. So this side has like, I don't know what they were, but they're like holes, drain holes, something. So I'm gonna have to grind those down flat, but overall, extremely happy with this. So it should just fit right into the boat. Put our foam in, and then we can go ahead and put some rivets down, and floor's done. So I'm gonna go get the flap wheel, flap disc, and clean up the edges all real quick, and we'll be right back. It's almost a perfect fit. Hopefully you guys can see that pretty well. It's a pretty good fit. It's definitely a little bit short, kind of, you know, up here on the edges and stuff, but that's all right. We have those side panels, if you guys remembered, side panels that go on right there and come down, so it's pretty good. The only thing not too stoked about is the panel came up a little bit short, which I figured was going to happen, but that's alright. I'm just going to try and section it straight across, right in the middle, so then I can get another piece and finish this little bit, and then do the front deck and up here. So overall though, I'm super happy with this. I think it looks great, honestly. Gives the boat, you know, a good sense of structure once again. So overall, I'm pretty happy with how that fits down in there. Like I said, you know, it leaves a little bit to be desired on the sides, but also, you know, the sides are getting covered up, so that's another thing right there. So, but I might go ahead and throw, you know, just a couple rivets down in the corners. Okay, so I want to kind of try and maintain a little bit of consistency with the rivets that I'm going to put down. So I'm going to go 4 inches in from the corners right after the ribs. I know you guys can't see it, but I'm 4 inches in. I'm going to put a rivet here, and then I'm going to go ahead and put a rivet on the back side, and that'll give us, you know, a good holding on each side of the panel. And then I'm probably just going to measure and put one right in the center of the boat, and that should be good. And I'll do that for every rib. So each rib will have 3 rivets holding it down, and for the rivets I'm using 1/4 inch by 3/8 aluminum rivets. These should hold pretty well, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started here. There we go. Okay, so we have the boards all set up right here. If you guys remember in the previous episode, we have a nice side and then the back side is kind of like a crappier side. But I just have them lightly clamped down on either end right now with some vice grips. And then right here I have some 1-inch stainless steel wood screws, and that's what we're going to use to hold, you know, the wood together, everything. So I want to flip the board over because I don't want the screws to be seen from, you know, the front side. So if we go ahead, flip the board over real quick. I already went and measured on the transom on where our screws and everything align with, you know, the piece of wood. So it looks like we're going to want to take our tape measure and measure about 2 inches in around the whole thing, and we should be clear right there for, you know, putting screws in. It's not going to interfere with any of the holes or the rivets in the transom that are already there, and it's going to make our life just a little bit easier. So I'm only going to do a couple though. I think I'm going to do like one down here, one up here, one here, you know, maybe 1 or 2 in the middle, and 1 or 2 in the middle here, just because, you know, this will be held together also by the 20-some 1/4-inch screw or nuts and bolts that we're going to be putting through. So the screws aren't necessarily to hold it for a structural point of view. It's just to hold the two pieces of wood together while we're in there getting all the holes drilled and everything. So the more you use, the harder it's going to become. The higher of a chance you're going to have for hitting a screw with one of your bolts on your transom. So in this case, using more is only going to hurt you more potentially. So less is going to be more in this case. Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw a couple of these in here, and we should be on our way here real soon. Okay, so now, you know, these pieces are together. They're not going to go anywhere. I only ended up using 6 screws just because, like I said, in this case less is going to be more because it's going to be attached to the back of the boat with so many other, nuts and bolts. So we don't need to put a whole bunch in there. We just need enough to hold it right now, basically. So right now I have to prep a couple of the pieces of the transom, and then we have to go and drill out all the holes out to 1/4-inch rivets, or out to 1/4-inch. They use 3/16, and we're going to switch everything to 1/4-inch fasteners. Alright guys, this is where your prep is key, basically, you know. You want to make sure you have everything laid out to where you can go as fast as you can, pretty much. But it's not like, it's not a race. You just want to have everything here so that way it makes your life easier, basically. So right here we have our 2 side brackets. We have our bottom rail that we're gonna install today, and then we have our new transom piece. And then if you guys notice down here right in front of me, I have all stainless steel. Has to be stainless steel, otherwise you guys will have what is known as galvanic corrosion. That will start to happen. But the stainless steel nuts and bolts with lock washers, and then right here I have some clear silicone to put on the back side, just a little bit, a little dab will do you, but basically just to kind of, you know, help plug up the hole from the back side. You don't need to gob the whole thing around, you just need to put a little bit and then wipe off the excess. It'll do its job. Does a really good job at it. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started on fitting up this transom, getting it slid up in here. I got to run and grab some clamps just to help hold it up, so that way, you know, we're not trying to do something with 6 arms with only 2 hands. So but once we start to fit it up, I feel like this is going to go really quick. There's honestly not a lot to this. It's put it up, get it set in place of where it needs to be, and start drilling holes pretty much. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead, grab some clamps, and I'll be right back. Alright, so we got our clamps. We have our new transom. So basically we are just going to try to get it to set back in there. It'll be a little hard just because of the shape and everything. And of course some of this aluminum's a little bit thicker than others. Looks like this side's actually bent in, so I need to get some kind of pry bar or something to kind of just pry it out a little bit. The clamp would probably work in our favor. Okay, one more shot, there it goes. Got my sweatshirt. Now it's always helpful if you have a couple people doing this, just to help get it in place, but I think right there we're close. But now we need a hammer or something just to help kind of slide it up, move it around a little bit. So I'm going to just clamp it to hold it in place. This is not the final position of it, but just while I'm gone, it's clamped. I can grab a hammer and we can start, you know, tapping it up into place and everything. So just a quick glance at it from I got in the boat and looked at it. Looks like this side needs to go up a little bit, and we also need to go over about 1/4 inch. So I want to, you know, take the clamp off on this side. Okay, our right and left looks good now. Now we just have to get it to sit up in there where we need it. Alright, so I think it might be close, or close enough for us to try putting on, you know, the bottom rail right here. So I'm just going to hold it up and see how close we are to the holes, and then if we need to go up or down, or, you know, whatever. So alright, I'm being honest, it looks pretty good. It's not assembled at all, but I was able to start to fit the screws in. The biggest thing that I'm having issues with right now is that the back of the transom's really wavy, so this board's not wanting to sit flat, but when we start to tighten everything up and sucking you know, the board flat to the back of the transom, it should really help the way that this thing fits. And I'm gonna guess that's why we're having so many issues. Just trying to slide it up in there is just because of how bent the back board, or the back piece of aluminum is. So right now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start fitting all the bolts into the bottom hole, getting all the washers on the back side, and getting them ready to be tightened up, and get this board in place basically. Alright, I'm taking you guys off the tripod just to show you what I did. So as you guys can tell, right there I put a nut and a washer on every single one of these, the bottom holders essentially. And then on the back side what I did was I just put a washer on each one of those bolts. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a dab of silicone. This is just Loctite all-purpose clear silicone. If you could get 3M 5200, I would recommend that over this. However, I was not able to, buy it in time. but I'm just gonna do one little dab right there, and then as I tighten all of these screws up, it's just gonna kind of smear the silicone around, and it should seal up pretty well, and then we're just gonna come and wipe away the excess. So, but this is what it looks like. We're gonna eventually have to drill holes through the wood right here, and we'll put a little bit more silicone in that hole right there, but for right now, just a little dab on these bottom ones, and then we can worry about putting more on later if need be, but however, just the one little dab should work. So I just want to show you guys, but I have both those lower bolt holes in. We did have one casualty. I drilled a little high right here, and I tried to come from the other side, and I actually ended up putting another hole in the boat, so that sucks. I gotta fix that. But overall, I have that entire bottom rail put in now. I know I need to go back and trim these bottom bolts. Not too worried about it right now. I just kind of want all of this to set, cure, you know, be good. But it looks really good so far. And now we have to work on putting in those corner brackets right there. So that one was attached to that bottom rail, however this one was not. So these are super easy. I'll show you guys what I do with them, but as you can tell, these rivet holes do not line up anymore. That's alright though, we'll just hold it in place, and then we will actually just drill new holes and pop in a couple rivets, and then this will be good, nice and sturdy. But overall, super happy with how this is coming out so far. That transom looks awesome back there. That side, I'm glad we picked that side. It looks brand new. But I'm gonna go ahead and start working on putting in these side pieces, that one and that one right there, and should be done with this here soon. Okay, so first of all, I got just a little bit of explaining to do. So on the rest of the transom restoration on our bass boat here, I lost all the footage. So I switched SD cards, ended up being corrupted, and lost all of the footage that I had for the remainder of this video. So I guess what I'm going to go ahead and do right now is just a brief overview of what I did to finish the transom. Show you guys videos that I can take right now of it, just so you guys can see the actual finished product of the transom. Okay, so we have the finished transom put on the back of the boat. I know in the last clip that you guys saw, we just got finished bolting up that bottom rail right there, and that's all the footage that I have. So pretty much the rest of what we did was we went ahead and just you know, finished putting in all of our stainless steel screws in through the back and up into our top piece over here. Super self-explanatory. It was extremely hard to try and match up the existing holes, honestly. You got to get the angle right, kind of hard. I was able to do it for most of them, but some of them I did miss. But in the final product, you know, the transom is on, it's all bolted down. All of those bolt holes, literally every single one of them, have been put on and siliconed inside and on the back here. There's a little bit of clear silicone around every single one of them. We also had to go and get the actual rear transom piece re-welded back on. As you guys can see, both sides were re-welded back on. The front side there, I got the back cap filled in right there. And the guy who did this was Apex Welding. He's local to me. If you guys are in the you know, northeast part of Iowa, you guys can find Apex Welding on Facebook. he does a great job, fantastic price, and if it breaks, more than likely he will fix it for you again. So other than that, the one bigger thing that we did was we finally mounted our mud motor on the back here. Now, I'm not too sure how this actually looks on here. I feel like the motor is a little bit high, and part of that has to do with this bracket that is on this kit right here. So I cannot lower this down any further unless I was to cut out the inside of the transom to where it would slide down further, and I'm not quite sure if I want to do that, if I'm being honest. So kind of fighting what I'm gonna do. I do have a lot of adjustment in the tilt right there to where I can get it to tilt back and get the prop in the water. However, I can also adjust, let's see if you guys see it, there's bolts up in here, and I have about a 1/2 inch to where I can drop the motor down some more. I might do that as well. I don't know exactly until I go and test it out. So one more thing that I did was I put a sheet of black plastic back here. I believe this is called HPDE, I think. I think that's what it's called, but I just went ahead and did that because I had quite a bit of existing bolt holes that were back here, and it also gives some give to the transom on the mounting points right there. Plus it looks nice. If I want to go ahead and switch motors, I got another area there that I can use to drill, give it a nice cushion pad. But overall, the transom is fully fitted up on here, and I'm really sorry that I lost the rest of the footage for you guys. However, this is the best I can do right now. So if you guys have any questions over any of the process that went to, putting this transom back on, please, leave a comment. I can answer it the best I can. I'm sorry once again that I lost the footage. Alright, so that is going to be the end of this video. Yes, I understand it was extremely long. However, this was an extremely long process for me. It took me honestly a solid week of working on this to get it completely done. I wanted to make sure it was done correctly and done right to where I don't have to go ahead and redo it here in a couple years, because I don't plan on selling this boat. This thing is going to be my adventure boat, my duck boat, my fishing boat for a long time. I absolutely love the shape of this hull, and I think it's going to do a lot of good things for me. So once again, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.